look at things because it does not see in 3D. It only looks at heat and cold signatures. So this is an actual tool used by mechanics and electricians and plumbers to find leaks. I went with the real deal on this guy. If you guys notice, I'm red, orange, and yellow. Everything around me should be orange and black. So when you take me out of the picture, it will fluctuate based on whatever's inside that picture. So with that being said, what we're looking for here are blue and black spots, which are the coldest areas, to actually start moving on their own. I usually tell you, Evan, this is going to go to you. So I usually tell you to try to keep a person in the picture at all times, so that way you have a point of reference of a hot area. Our skin is obviously going to be the hottest thing out here tonight, you know, between 95 and 98 degrees. So it's already recording. There's a red square right there above my finger. That means that it's recording. I want you to keep this horizontal all night long. If that red square turns to a circle, let me know. We'll have to splice some videos together, and then you'll be the jerk because it takes me way longer to do that. So I've had people give me 30 videos before. You know how long that took me? It's crazy. That was a mess because I had to put it in order. So that way they knew exactly where they were. Nuts. So spirit boxes. We're going to... with a group of 5, I think we're only going to use one. This one is, spirit boxes, you should be somewhat familiar with your TV shows. It's a staticky noise they throw through your screens and they give you a suggestion of what they think they heard. Yeah. This one is slowed down. It doesn't have just static. It's actual FM radio stations flipping through very, very quickly, but some of that radio chatter is going to come through. We want that radio chatter. Think of this as kind of Bumblebee from Transformers, where he talked through the radio. I don't know if you guys seen that film or not, but we want the radio station people to tell us the message that especially if it's an intelligent answer. So example, what color is my shirt? And then you hear the word black come through. It's obviously an intelligent answer. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So I'm going to turn this on so you guys can get a gist of it. The cool thing about this one in particular is that it records the entire sweep for us, even when it's on mute, and it doesn't record any outside noise. So it's literally only going to record the sweep itself. So even when it's down in volume, it's going to record everything for us, which is awesome. That way I can timestamp it based on the video and the audio and tell where I'm at and say, oh, Charles Pinckney was a Democrat, and that's why it's a Democrat. You know, those kind of things. So I'm going to turn it up just so you guys get the gist of how slow it is. Now, get him with that chain. Get him with that chain, is what I heard. Yeah. So, I'm actually going to hand this off to you. You're the one that showed interest. You did too, but that's okay. We got more stuff. Yeah. So there's one little button right there. You just turn it up and down. You control the volume. Okay, great. Everything else is already recording. Okay. So you can keep it down while I'm talking, obviously, and we will be able to. Let's see, where do I want to go next? So you're going to be in charge of pictures. Pictures? Yeah. Pictures are easy.
All the people.
Why?
Oh, they've had me video and I'm not very good at it.
That's okay. So, I'm not going to pull out, I have lasers and all kinds of things that I normally have people take pictures of, but there's going to be some hot spots, and you can take as many pictures as you want. None of you can be in the pictures because I do post them publicly, so that way you guys have access to them. So again, that's kind of the rule of thumb. If we capture evidence and there's people in it, I just crop you out. So I want the evidence. But I'll kind of give direction on certain places to take pictures and maybe some touristy type things for you guys to have. You know, there's no flash on this for a reason. So with no flash, you have to be very still when taking the picture. Always take 2 of the same thing so we have something to compare it by. In case something shows up in one, I know it's not in the next one. We probably have something legit. It goes to my wife, who does all of the graphic design work for me and the photography work, because that's what she went to school for, to analyze it for me, to tell me, oh, that came from that light over in the corner. Or this happened over there. It could be a raindrop, whatever it is. So, very still, take 2 of everything. None of you can be in the picture. You could take up to 400 if you'd like. I don't prefer 400 because that's a lot for me to go through. My last group, I'm afraid I probably have a good 350 to go through. She took a lot of pictures.
Oh wow.
It's okay.
Right there?
Yeah, that's to take the picture, and the button next to it is to, well, it'll turn off periodically. So it's just that's the power button. Okay. So, let's cover COVID stuff real quick. I'm sorry. I asked you all to bring masks with you. Obviously, I have one. I do have epilepsy. It's hard for me to keep it on for long periods of time. If I get close to you based on your device, I will mask up for you. But just know that it probably won't be for more than 10 minutes or so. So that's kind of the rule there. All of your devices have been disinfected. That took me an extra 5 minutes. I stop along the way to disinfect everything. carry extra masks in case your medical masks have rubber bands that break or whatnot. So we got you covered on COVID. So I gotta put all those disclaimers out there. So sorry about that. Let's see here. So EMF meters are our most active tool. They're usually the first indication that something is actually happening. TV shows usually use these, but they never actually explain how they work or what they actually do. This one in particular measures 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. The first one is natural, it's from the earth. That's why it's green, it's on. The second one's gonna be from electronic devices. So cell phones, wiring, parking meters. It's gonna make it go into a rhythm or a pulse. We don't want that either. We want it to go crazy all over the place where we can't make out what's actually happening. So you're gonna speak up for us whenever that goes off.
Okay.
And again, we'll try to debunk it first. I'm not here to make stuff up for you guys. I'm not Zach Bagans from the TV shows. You guys read my ratings that I'm honest and I will debunk things right in front of you, I'm sure. And you're like, what am I getting? Look at her, she's waiting. Like, what else is in the bag? I'm like Santa Claus on Halloween.
That's a
It's great.
gizmo.
You are going to help us debunk things as well.
Sounds good.
Because Evan has a camera, I'm going to have you help determine what's actually happening with his camera.
Okay.
This, obviously we know what this guy is.
Yeah.
Surface temperature only, right? But right now, I have no idea what the air temperature is between the gun and the dot. That's what this guy does.
Okay.
So, this actually says 67.4. Now let's say Evan, let's turn this guy on. This isn't our most active tool. This helps us prove things, this helps debunk things.
Okay.
So you're gonna be using both. This one is an ambient thermometer through the probe at the top. So let's say Evan says, Nick, there's a blue spot on the wall above us. I'm like, okay, let's check it out. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this infrared dot all the way across and make sure it's the same temperature. If it is, I now know that that blue space that he sees is between him and the wall. So then I'm gonna use this guy to try to find it with the probe at the end. Does that make sense to everybody?
Okay.
This is, again, this isn't the most active thing in the world, but
Yeah.
this guy is gonna help determine what's going on
Okay.
with his temperature.
She's got to get up by it. So she gets eaten first if something happens. Like
So she's got what?
She's got to get up. If I see something, she's got to go touch it,
We wanna touch it with the gun first.
and then she's got to touch it with that.
And then if we can't figure out what's going on, like those aren't synced up. So
Okay.
his is actually about 5 degrees higher than yours.
Uh-huh.
So if he says 75 and yours says 70,
Yeah.
we're about okay. So that blue spot is
Okay.
legit.
I got
Now,
you. I
if
got you.
yours drops below what
Okay.
she has with the gun, like you go down to 65 and she's still showing 70, something else is there.
Okay.
So we'll work with that on that first practice area to kind of show you guys what's happening.
Okay.
So I use a couple of tools myself. Now I have lasers and all kinds of other methods. This is set up for a group of 10, just so you guys know. And by the way, as far as groups go, I keep my groups at 10 only. Like that's my max. They lifted our COVID restrictions to go back up to 20. I won't do it. It doesn't make a very personal tour. Have you guys been on other ghost tours before?
No.
Never?
First one. You're the
All
first.
virgins to ghost tours?
We're all virgins.
Wow. I can lie to you guys all night then. That's great. So ghost tours normally will be about 20 people, one host.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And everybody's trying to listen to that one guy. And they're not, I mean, their hands are in their pockets. I see them all night long. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been on my fair share of ghost tours, but then I was like, I need to do something different. Now my phone wants to blow up. Anyway, so let me show you the tools that I'm going to use. I do keep a backup EMF on my phone. It's not as sensitive as Gary's, but at the same time, it is a nice pinch in case his battery drains. I do carry extra batteries, but if we need something in a pinch. Now I do use 2 different spirit boxes on my phone. It's going to give us a word in the center of the screen from time to time. It's also going to save it to a list. So, the last group, they actually had 51 terms. I get about 50 to 60 per 90-minute to 2-hour tour. If it goes higher than that, we probably had a lot of activity. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you about that list. This app is meant to be a game and a hoax. 80% of this list means nothing. It's the 5 to 20% that I'm going to find for you with verifiable links to show you where I got the data from, of why it's relevant to what's happening on our tour, one of you personally, or the history of the locations of where we're going to be. Does that make sense? So, I know I use that term a lot. I should stop doing it. So I'm going to clear them out. You know what? Let me make sure I send it to myself. I'm just going to send it again just to be on the safe side. I can't remember if I did it or not. Okay, I'm going to clear them out and start you guys off fresh. The second one I'm going to use is a reverse spirit box. Now I debunked this one already too. it is said when you download it that it's at FM radio stations from the spirit box you have and playing them in reverse. Well, I was like, I'm not hearing music and all the weird noises. It sounds like 2 people. It's literally 2 people saying random words. I have no idea how long the loop is. Because I analyze EVPs all the time, I have the software to flip it forward. So I listened to it, looped it for an hour. I didn't find any kind of loop within that hour. So I have no idea how long it is, but it is a very relevant tool. Later on, I'll play an EVP I caught a few weeks ago when we're not such a near loud area. But I do want you guys to at least get the gist of what it sounds like, because it is going to come up on your regular audio, because this is how I use to communicate. So it should sound like complete gibberish, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little creepy, but it's effective. It works really well. I use both of those spirit boxes together. So there might be times where I say, all right, I'm going to break off from you guys in this small area to get away from your spirit box and do my own little session so you guys have more audio to go by. If I hear something, I don't always review your audio. I'll say what I think I heard and then say rewind by 5 seconds. So that way you're going to have the MP3 to be able to verify what I heard. Does that make sense? I guess I really do. I guess I used to be, I was in retail management for a long time, and I was a trainer. So that was always a phrase for me, like, does that make sense? If it doesn't, please speak up. So, guys, we are standing in a haunted location, which is why we start here. So this place used to be called Big John's back in the 70s. It was named after a football player, Big John Kennedy. He played for the 1947 New York Giants. Now, he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel were of age or not. So, one night, 2 guys come in, they're not of age. John tells the bartender to cut them off. They get mad and leave. They come back the next night and they try to steal the circumstance, which is funny. They try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. They get in a rough and tumble with John. Guns were shot and fired, and one of the bullet holes is actually still here in the building. Now, it's not Big John that haunts the place. So he is here. He does talk to the owners when they're here. But there's a bullet hole that's still here that has paranormal activity attached to it. It is said when people sit in the front of this bar, they don't feel well. They get headaches, queasiness, dizziness, anything that's slightly like, hey, I just don't feel good kind of feeling. If any of you guys are not feeling well, I need to know. I bring that story up on purpose. I've had people drop like wet noodles before. It's never fun. So, I don't say it to scare you. This is not a scary tour. This is literally like learning about ghosts and the stories and how the data actually works together. But when you guys start to not feel well, I need to move you out of the area pretty quickly. So, the other story that came out of here is the mantle above your heads goes around the front of the building as well, and a piece of it from the big earthquake that we had back in 1868 broke off, and this is where the first death occurred from that earthquake.
Right where you're standing.
Yeah, right where you're standing. No, it goes in the front. The previous owner of this bar, from Cane Rum Bar, he moved to Florida in the middle of COVID. He's the one who said he used to see shadows out here in the middle of East Bay Street, but I don't have any verifiable proof of that. I've never seen anything myself, and I don't get anything related to that earthquake in any of the data. So, who knows how true it is, but it is. So, you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not, tired of hearing me talk yet. We got another hour or so of this. So, we're gonna actually head this way, right through these parking spots that are still here. Yeah, go ahead and put it right next to, touch this guy with that thing. It should give you a rhythm or a pulse. Yeah. So weird. It's alive. Normally it'll give them a pulse off that parking meter.
Parking meter pulsing, I can see the light in there.
Am I staying in the... Stop. I'm gonna watch the video and be like, what's that guy?
Hey, look at that. You're getting something already. Good deal. It works, trust me. So, for you history buffs, maps, I want you to picture Charleston. It was a much skinnier peninsula back in Revolutionary War times. The water's behind me, the ship rolls up, shoots a cannon, lands at the stop sign down there, right in the middle of the neighborhood. No deaths, no tragedies, no paranormal activity of any kind, but it was a neighborhood even then. So, just one of those little history nuggets that I'll throw at you guys from time to time, kind of try to appease everybody. So, I read that somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that's actually right on my tour. I'm putting that in. So where are we now? We're at the Red Barn lot where they keep the horses for your carriage rides. So ponies are still in there. The only thing that we have that might disturb them is your laser. So we definitely want to keep your laser out of the windows of that place. This is the same Red Barn where they kept the horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So if that kind of dates it for you, my guesstimate is between 1860 and 1920. I know it's a big span, but again, I don't have much history on this building, which is why it's a great practice area for everybody to kind of get the gist of how their devices work. And you guys are, I'm guessing, are all family? Yes? Or all at least close?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The four of us are.
Okay. Well, who are
I'm
you?
the fifth wheel.
Who are you now?
She's my friend.
Okay. It's funny, she's the one that booked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's a good friend right there. I
Yeah,
want to keep her
we were
around.
talking about it, and then I said, "Yes, go book it." I was actually riding my horse, and I said, "She's like, can you? I call you?" And I was like, "I'm on my horse. I'll call you when I'm done." I'm like, "Just go book it, book it."
Well, that's appreciated.
Yes.
So, here's what's going to actually happen in here. Keep in mind, we are in a parking lot, so there might be cars cutting through. We're going to talk about your spirit box for a second. So, your TV shows will keep it at. They're going to go right in and say, why'd you kill so-and-so? And they're going to provoke and ask random weird questions.
Okay.
So the way you actually use one of those is I'm going to start you off easy because it's set a little bit slower. And you want to start with a question of something you already know. For example, we all know that the barn is red. So this is the example I use for every group. So you're going to ask, can you tell me what color the barn is? And you're going to listen for about 30 seconds or so. You know you're listening for the color red.
Okay.
If you don't get an answer, ask again. Do that 2, 3, maybe 4 times max. If we actually have EMF activity from the meter, obviously somebody's hanging out. They just can't find the right signal to tell us the word red. So you can say, okay, let's move on to something else. Can you tell me what's inside the barn?
Okay.
You might hear animal, horse, draft, so those are draft horses, delivery, workers, anything of those, that kind of nature. It kind of opens it up a little bit other than the color red.
Okay.
When you start getting answers, you don't have to keep asking the same question. They're not inside the box. You don't need to, hey, tell me the color of the barn. It's an open question. You want to stay away from yes or no questions.
Predator.
She might have horse.
I gathered that. So I was like, oh, this might actually be good. So we also, too, stay away from yes or no questions. Yes and no, because S and O are two of the very common sounds in our English phonetic language. If you say, is somebody here? And of course, if they say no, they're obviously here. But they could say the word houses, but you think you heard yes. I want verifiable things. We know that the barn is red, right? We know there's horses inside. You know, if we start getting names, or if I get Big John's teammates, which often happens back here as well, you can switch up the questions. You know, because we don't know if it was a stable boy that's answering you. We don't know if it's one of Big John's teammates or Big John himself. We don't know any of those things. So then you can get a name. Kind of go against, you know, what you think you want to know. And get an actual word that's not yes or no. We're going to get a nice full sweep from the thermal imaging camera. You have a ton of different materials in here. You have obviously metal, you have trees, asphalt, bricks. That's another great reason why I chose that device, is because you learn a lot about thermodynamics with that particular camera. I'm losing names. Michelle, you're going to help him with pointing the gun around, except for keeping it out of those windows.
Yep.
About verifying what he's actually seeing as you guys tour around.
Okay.
Andrea, you're pretty much going to be following wherever that EMF goes, and then you can take as many pictures in here as you like, even if they're going to be dark. It's okay. I'm going to lighten them up. You guys are going to see my work. If I see something too dark, but I have an instinct that something might be in there, or I get a glimmer of something, I will brighten it up, and you'll have that as well. So your pictures, just so you know when I upload them, I give you a link to, there's a Stories in the Cemetery Facebook page, as I'm sure you can imagine, and I create a folder for every tour that I do. Now, if we capture something, I copy the picture of what we caught, whether it was an orb or a figure or whatever, and it goes into the evidence folder. So then you'll have access to that as well, and it's open air. That's why I say none of you can be in the picture, because I do post those on Facebook publicly. But it's your folder. That way you can download them if you want to. It's very easy to download. So again, everything else will be on the same page, including the YouTube video from the thermal imaging camera, the word list, and the 2 audio pieces that we're going to have. So that'll be all together. So I say you got a little bit of a blip there, but let's see if we can find a spot that actually makes it go to red and try to debunk some things. You guys want to just stick together as a group for now?
Yeah.
So we can kind of get the gist of this?
Yep.
Anybody's palm itchy?
No.
I just got the word palm, and is anybody here diabetic?
Yes.
Yep.
Because diabetes came up almost the minute I
2
started
of us.
walking.
What's that now?
The word diabetes came up.
Oh.
And then I got the word ask us. That's why I'm asking the group. So
Yeah.
ask if anybody's diabetic. Interesting.
It's funny.
Do you still have a red square?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. It says the word button. You gotta verify what's going on with mine too. So go ahead and turn this up a little bit. Let's get the gist of that. Let's just get the questions out there and see what happens. This is ghost hunting.
I hear what's in the barn. Can you tell me what's in the barn?
Shake them up a bit. I heard shake them up a bit. Chevrolet doesn't mean anything.
No, we don't have a car. There are buggies in there. I was like, actually, it's like,
Is the barn red?
That's a yes or no
oh
question.
yeah. What color is the barn?
What color is the barn?
So that's the end of
So take your time. So you gotta I hate to say pretend like somebody's actually here with you, but this isn't, they're not inside the box.
I understand.
It's literally like, hey, if somebody's actually here and they're listening to me right now, tell us what color this barn is. And that's the question. That's how you're gonna ask it. You're just gonna walk around like you'll
There, it's going to be red.
okay, a little bit of red over there.
What kind of horses are there?
Can you tell us what kind of horses are in that barn? He had some spikes of red.
What is something that's in the barn?
'96. So I'll look up the year that the Palmetto Carriage Works took over. I want to say it was in the 90s. Right now, we're not really
What
just-
happened in '96?
Charleston's best. Carriage ride.
Crazy over here.
Let's move up here.
Charleston, that's what happened in '96.
I don't want to talk about it, he said. Let's get a name. Who's actually here with us? Give us your name, please. I was wrong. It was 71. I love having computers in our hands.
And look. And look.
She's got a big blue vest on her back.
There is something around it, but
Look, the other
So,
is
shoot
just
it with the
sweaters.
laser. Let me take a look. Keep your camera on
What?
wherever you think it's weird. Her clothes are obviously going to be cooler than her skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah, like both of them.
it's because
I saw that.
And then shadows are going to be a degree or two cooler as well.
Gotcha.
So they don't always show up as, you know, definitive pieces, but if you move the crosshairs over it, then you can definitely see where the temperature drops a little bit.
Yeah. I'm just gonna get a hang of it. This is cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of stuff with that. So just to kind of give you the gist, I'll show you. So I caught 2 ghosts last week. Get in there and show you the video we caught with that camera. It's awesome. Just so you can get a gist of what you're looking for. They called me to a corner of the next lot that we're going to, and you're going to see 2 people living walk by this wall right there. You'll see their heads. So see them walking by. So there's a relative, and then we're going to fast forward by 20 seconds or so. You're going to see 2 blackheads come across.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So obviously black is the coldest in that picture, and there were obviously other people there, so they should have matched in color.
Oh, wow.
So that's the kind of shit I like to catch with that.
I got you. Okay.
All right, does everybody kind of have a gist of how their
They
devices?
said there's loving in the barn.
Well, I can
Loving in the
smell
barn?
something in the barn.
Might be. I don't hear any loving going on in the barn.
Loving?
All right, let's go learn some actual history. Let's go. I prefer smaller groups like this. Might be able to get extra spots. So, a lot of history here. Gary's already getting in a good read, which is awesome. So, let's go ahead and keep that turned down. It's recording for us anyway, so in case we'll listen to it again in the morning. So let me tell you what's going on in here. This is home of Charles and Eliza Pinckney. So their mansion was in the front. Eliza's garden was lined up right here with this first tree, and then the slave homes would have been in the back. So Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles and a nephew named Charles. The son and nephew were signers of our Constitution. So the son was obviously raised here. It's a pretty big deal for us. I hate politics, especially 2020 politics. I'm going to move on to Eliza. Eliza married Charles so she could stay here in the United States. She was from England, and her dad was back home in England, and he was sick. Thought he was dying. He wanted all of his kids home. She didn't want to go. So she got married and stayed in the United States. She was pretty young. Charles was not. So, I don't want to say he was old. Not my age. He was older than her. Oh, look at that. Now we get the word barn as we walk away. So, at any rate, Dad gets better and he starts sending her gifts over from England. One of those gifts happens to be the plant indigo. You guys been driving around town, or who's from here? Who lives here?
Well, yeah, I live in South Carolina.
Okay, so you've probably seen indigo somewhere. Now, you probably already know too that indigo has a very deep gullah culture here in Charleston, but Eliza's the one that made it profitable. She turned it into a cash crop after our rice plantations went downhill. It's a pretty big deal here in Charleston. So when the rice plantations went down, the city was worried on how they were going to keep their status. So she saved us, basically. There's a couple weird things about Eliza. First off, she was, not to mention, she was the businesswoman that sold this overseas. She used Dad's connections and made it huge for us. So indigo actually makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. We still use it. So sorry, when it habit. When I get younger, like kids, they look at me like, what the heck is indigo? Isn't that a color? I'm like, yeah, it's a color. It comes from a plant. So, at any rate, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. She goes by her maiden name. Chuck screwed that one up. He had 2 wives named Eliza back to back. So she goes by her maiden name. Try to find out what that maiden name is. I'm not going to give you the answer. That's literally, hey Eliza, tell me what your maiden name is. Also keep in mind that when we're asking questions, those answers can go anywhere. We have the audio on the camera, we have your spirit box, my 2 spirit boxes, and the audio that I'm carrying. So I might ask a question away from you and say, how many people are with us? And it might say the number 5 on your spirit box. Does that make sense? That's verifiable proof. I asked a question. I often ask what month Charles's birthday was, and he'll send it to another area. And he'll say it twice because he died in the same month that he was born in. Yeah. Everything with Charles comes in 2s. I'll explain more on that later.
Interesting.
Yeah, everything with Charles comes in 2s. So, they had 4 kids, only 1 daughter. We're going to try to find out what the daughter's name was. So again, I'm going to send you guys off to wander as a group, and I'm going to do my own thing so you have more audio to see how much more we can capture. The blinking light doesn't always blink. It wasn't even blinking that heavily on my last tour. On the past 2 nights, it wasn't blinking at all, and my activity was pretty dead as a doornail, no pun intended. I didn't have much. This would be normally my grand finale if I were to have one. But if you look and you have your EMF, at the, like if you're holding it up, oh look at that, it just told me flood. That's in flood light. That's interesting. So, again, I'll always try to connect something. It doesn't always mean something, but your EMF is usually right in sync with the blinking of that light. Usually. It's within 2 frames if you actually take a video. So, what else do I need to tell you guys? Oh, you can, again, no yes or no questions.
Right.
And you can stay, oh, you guys want to hear that EVP I heard on the reverse spirit box real quick? Just so you guys get a gist of what you're listening for. So, again, I just told you Eliza was from England. I guess we're not saying her first. And this didn't make any sense to me when I heard it in real time. One of my guests told me what it meant. And then I'll tell you what I heard when it came up after this. So here's what happened. Your spirit box told me, I'll fix you. Baked beans breakfast, and then the word list gave me the word tea. They were all within 2.5 minutes of each other. In the 1700s, and I heard even now today, baked beans for breakfast in the UK is still a thing. I'll fix you baked beans breakfast and tea.
Huh.
See how I have to look at all this stuff in the morning to see how it collaborates?
Yeah.
So, again, I'm going to send you guys off to kind of wander and see what you can get out of there. Go to where the hot spots are with the EMF. I'm going to go away from you guys so I don't touch that extra audio in the background.
What's your maiden name?
Do you understand any of this? I'm acting like I am.
How many kids do you have?
Charles, what month were you born in?
Well, yes, you have a kid, you were right. You're not garden. Ask her what you grew in the garden. You're right. Something like that.
Plants. There's that.
And then I asked how many kids, and it said, well, it came up and it said 4 models. But it wouldn't say the same 4
Right.
models,
We
but
still got
yeah,
four.
yeah.
I usually get the word house when I stand for the house one. So that I did get house for sure. Charles, tell us what month you were born in. I seen it coming.
She just jumped past me.
That.
She just jumped past me.
I heard
There was I'm parked over there, and there was some guy like sitting in the car,
Oh, wow.
like smoking weed, having a good time. Got the car.
Was it his birthday, you were asking?
Yeah.
Charles, when's your birthday? When did he die? June 11th? What is it?
That's not it.
Okay.
That's a very specific date. So maybe that's not Charles that's here. Hang on. Charles computers.
June 11th.
June
11th.
11. That's crazy that it actually gave you a full date like that.
What is the significance of June 11th?
Oh my gosh, I saw that guy. There's a guy over there.
What do you
Say
think?
now?
The guy just walked out, but I didn't see him over there. I
Get
just saw
some
him on
homeless
this.
over here. We do get some homeless every once in a
Oh,
while.
okay.
And you're the only one that can see them.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy's up on the stairs.
Yeah, or one of them just walked out and got it.
From Thomas Jefferson to Thomas Pinckney, June 11th, 1792. There's a whole letter here. So I will be reading that in the morning and sending you guys this link.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting. Alright. Because we're getting some weirdos hanging around here, what do you say we move on to the next spot? Alright, so we're going to be walking up to Lodge Alley. The answers to the questions that I told you guys to ask. Eliza died at the age of 70 in Philadelphia from breast cancer. It's also where she's buried, in Philadelphia.
Huh.
So, maiden name is Lucas. So Eliza Lucas Pinckney is what she goes by. First wife was Eliza Lamb Pinckney. So his daughter's name was Harriet. And the house caught on fire on the second floor up in that corner. That's why I was up there.
Ah.
So I usually get the words fire or the term it blew up. Comes up quite often here too. So that was in the fire of 1864.
Got some pictures over there, but
We'll see what pops up. Maybe something a little warm shows up. So where we're going is definitely kind of a masked up area. We're going to be on East Bay. It's Sunday, might be a little looser. But we're going to go up to Lodge Alley, but it's a small group. I actually lost part of my last group, like they got called back from the spirit box to come check something out. And they each have a penny tattooed on their wrist. And it actually said, look, what did it tell them? It told them to stop when we were on our way to Lodge Alley, and then it said something about gate, so they're looking for a gate, and then it said look down, and there were 2 pennies at the bottom of the gate. So I lost them for like 15 minutes. Like I'm calling them and texting them like, where did you go? And they showed up, and we had to say they followed the direction from the spirit box. It was like an omen to them.
They'll tell you themselves. Okay, well that's what I've always been told.
Yeah, it's rough.
Okay, well that's good to know.
They sold them on the steps over there. And they sold them on at the actual slave farm on Chalmers Street.
Okay.
This,
So what was this before?
it was an open air market, just the same way it is
Oh,
now.
that's good.
But the office is way in the front. What is that, Market Street?
Yeah.
Those were like the government offices.
Okay.
So they did all the paperwork for the slaves. So that's why they called this the slave farm.
Got it. I remember this I mean, they've updated this so much, even from like, I remember coming down here like 20 years ago when I moved here, and it was wasn't as nice. I mean,
We're
granted,
parked down there, right?
the structure itself, but I just feel like
Well, I don't know. I think we're right down there.
I didn't have my eyes open. I'm sorry. I was so tired, especially in the car.
Then one Broad Street, the shop bought yesterday. They shut down last week or the week before. If I find a park spot in the first leave, I wasn't going to go in.
Oh, back on. Yeah, go back on. Right,
Thank you so much.
They will still ring or have something to ring down if you have a favorite.
Yeah, that thing's going to go crazy.
Figured out the same
What do
way.
you think? You're a skeptic? You still a skeptic?
I don't know.
Are you?
Starting to freak me out a little bit.
Yeah. No, I just saw.
Alright, we're gonna have you take a few pictures before we walk down here.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
You go first.
Yeah, we're gonna have you grab 2 pictures going down this alley. I usually get some orbs and crazy lights going on in pictures. No, try to be as still as possible.
It's good.
Very hard to honest. It's funny, it's not many stores come down here at all. This is Lodge Alley. It's actually one of our oldest streets in Charleston. So as you can see, it's very uneven. Bricks, none of them are the same shape or size. These are handmade, hand-laid bricks. People used to live on this street. That's why I called it a street and not an alley. It's because the 2 buildings in between us or on the edges weren't here. It was random shotgun houses up and down. And I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived down here. It's not a long list. It's not a census list. It's more of their name and occupation and the year they lived here, and that's it. It's pretty simple. So I listen to the spirit box pretty heavily while we're in this area. So I look at the timestamps to see if any of the names pop up. And I do get the name Benjamin and John that show up often here, and they both were 2 of the 4 residents that lived here in 1801. So it's just random that they show up at the same time. Benjamin more so than John, but sometimes that name accompanies him. Weird place that I've caught weird orbs, like I told you with the lights, and my wife will analyze these pictures like crazy. We get a green orb that shows up in these pictures in this location all the time, and it's never in the same spot. We've come down to try to debunk it. There's no stoplights anywhere nearby, nothing's reflecting off of it. And we look at all the pictures to make sure it's where it's at. We've seen them on this wall, in the middle up here. I have a video of one moving in the center of the air over there. Like it's crazy. That green orb just shows up all the time. This is also where the Masons used to meet. So before it was a neighborhood, so to speak, the Masons used to come down here because the alley was here for horse and carriage to come through. But they would be down here talking business on hot, sticky nights here in Charleston. Be down here in suits and suspenders. Again, it's a weird area. I don't usually get EMF, so when I do, it's exciting. The building behind me is the Lodge Alley Inn, obviously named after this alley. They also claim to have ghosts, but none of them give me free rooms, like I was telling you, so I don't verify any of them or tell those stories, but you can read all of them online. They all have separate rooms. None of them want to give me a free one to let me stay there. And the word admired freshman. Interesting. I did get the name Russ, but I don't remember the name Russ ever being on that list. Again, it's not very long. So we're going to walk through the rest of this alley. It's also a good place for us to kind of stop, catch a breather, see something really cool in between us. Obviously, Magnolia's is one of the most famous restaurants here in Charleston, so I kind of like to point that out too. Oh, I didn't tell you, they consider the people that lived here lower class. So if you see the buildings that are at the end, they obviously weren't there because Charleston was skinnier. So low tide coming in, that unpleasant smell would be breezing right through here. They did do an archaeological dig and find some of their silverware and tools in between the bricks, little pieces of their clothing, and that's how they were able to consider that these people were lower class. So it does make sense because it's not a very great place to live. So, but we're going to walk through the rest of this. You can listen to your spirit box along the way. When we get to the edge, we're going to get 2 more pictures going the opposite way, and then the spirit box comes out, just an odd level to be in the neighborhood. That's pretty. You hear that? Let's get two pictures going the opposite way.
Oh, it's so funny. We were right here. Who would have thought?
We were gonna buy that house?
No.
the trailer right there. I looked up one on that, 54th ad or whatever, 4.6 million.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's all.
So if I don't see any of those, but you guys can find them.
Yeah, I mean, I blow them up on my computer.
John, getting tired.
Mm-hmm. There's switch. Yeah, that's it. I just need you to hold my
Yeah.
eyeballs.
You can hold it. Set it on. There you go. You got this. That's an old building, isn't it?
It's also a great picture spot for anybody that wants to get all touristy on me. It's perfect. You just got a sliver of it now. We're about to go into Philadelphia Alley, and I tell the story out here because it's a very popular ghost tour area. They just tell the story, and that's their big finale, and that's it. We actually have tools to prove the story. So that's why I tell the story out here, so we don't get interrupted. They make it a big theatrical performance. I'm not going to do that. So it's literally like a 4 to 5 minute story. So there was a doctor that moved down to Charleston because he was supposed to get married. Does that make a whole lot of sense? No. His fiance, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. And I know, you can't do it for 2 minutes at a time. So anyway, the attorney handling all that money that she inherited said, "You're not getting married. I think he's just after your money. Send the doctor away and we'll see how it goes." So he moves to Charleston. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. Not a very good start. So somebody walking by said, his name is Ralph Isaacs. And I usually kind of put his initials out there of RI because the doctor was from Rhode Island with the same initials, RI. So that shows up often on the spirit boxes when I'm coming through here. Wow, where do all these bottles of water come from? Wow, you guys just pulling them out of your pockets.
Out of my pocket.
It's funny. So, at any rate, Ralph, he's from here, and he says, "You don't want to stay here. This is a bad neighborhood anyway." So he saves the doctor, and he tells him to go to 59 Church Street, and he can rent a room too. Rent a room over there. That's about 1.5 miles, the same street as the big Steve we got used to. So he rents a room, everything's going well. The doctor's practice starts to take off. He's doing really well. He's excited, and Amanda's coming down soon because he's now proving he's not just after her money. So he becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Everybody knows him in town as that such. So you can Google the Whistling Doctor and get the two become friends, and they used to go see plays together, but because the doctor's practice was doing so well, he was a different part of society. So they had to sit in different seats. It's kind of like going to see movies with a friend, but she makes more money than you, and you have to sit in bad seats. So that's kind of how that went. So they couldn't talk about the plays or even whatever until afterwards. Like they're walking home one night, they go see Richard III, talking about the new actress. The doctor loved her, Ralph did not. It turns into an argument on the doctor's fiance. Back home in Rhode Island, they obviously get mad at each other and go their separate ways. Now, I told you Ralph was from Charleston. He has ties to the newspaper. It's a big ad in the paper about what a disgrace the doctor is to the city of Charleston. He's not from here, it's too expensive, he takes all of our money. The doctor rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley and settle this, which is what this was before Philadelphia Alley. So they come down here, and normally, by the way, what's the loser of a duel? Dead. Right, exactly. They're a dead body. There's an opening along that second wall of the alley, and the loser would be picked up, taken through that courtyard, taken over to the cemetery of St. Philip's. They would drop him in to a pre-dug grave and go celebrate the winner. It's kind of how the duels went when somebody got killed. It happened with this particular instance. So the two come down, take the 20 paces, they turn, and the doctor points his gun in the air. He shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to make a point. However, Ralph took 2 shots below the knees on the doctor. He drops. His friends pick him up, and instead of taking him, oh look at that, I got verses, thank you. Anyways, so instead of taking him through the death gate, they carry him home to 59 Church Street, and he dies 10 days later. Feel, defeat. Wow, we're getting a lot of stuff here. That's pretty cool. I'll take verses. What else is there? A lot of stuff. Nothing that I can find relevant, but I'll take verses and defeat. Especially when I'm telling you that the doctor went home with 2 bloody knees. So anyway, he dies 10 days later. The moral of the story is, don't get engaged to somebody named Amanda. Just making sure you're paying attention. It's a long story. So, they say as you walk through this alley, because it's always this quiet, day or night, that you can hear the whistling of the doctor. Now, we have the audio piece. Stay away from the spirit box, so it's a nice clear audio. If you want to listen to it through the alley, you can. You definitely want some beautiful pictures. I don't hear other tours in there right now, so it's probably empty, which is awesome for us. I have caught some weird anomalies in there as well. The another history nugget about this place is that we're going to be walking along the bricks that are going to get older as we move along. The bricks up here were renewed in the 1990s, so they're a little bit more sharper edges and kind of thing. But down there, those bricks were sun-dried by slave kids, and we have their fingerprints in the bricks, and we have 1 full handprint. So, the handprint, when you look at it, if you want to get a picture, we got to have that picture ready. It is outside somebody's home, so I kind of like take the picture. You guys saw it. Let's keep moving. I don't want to disrupt neighbors. But the handprint, the thumb, actually moves into the next brick, which means that poor kid put the brick in wet instead of letting it fully dry, and it slammed his hand into it, kind of a screw you, I don't want to do this anymore kind of mentality, because it's a pretty deep handprint. It's unmistakable. I will point those things out with my toe. Again, if you guys want pictures of it, we will keep moving, and we'll exit left out of the alley, just so you guys know where we're at. We're ahead of you, but it'll be just kind of a train along, like I'll point it out, and the next person points it out, and so forth. So, is that fair? Trying to think what else. You guys want to check out the death gate real quick? We'll shoot some pictures. You can. We got plenty of time. We're actually really well on time. So, I was actually worried I was going to be late for you guys, because I had a floater on my last group. She kind of wandered off. I had to go back and get her. So, I've got to do the creepy effect. Hang on, somebody left the gate open. After you.
Nice. Showmanship. I like
I
it.
gotta give you something creepy. It's a family-friendly tour. I can't tell about all blood and gore and guts. Yeah, watch your step. This is what you thought you were getting yourself into, dude?
Yeah, I guess. I kind of really didn't know what, but I mean,
People come in like that.
well, I mean, it's the history, and it's all part of it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, if anything, you'll learn a lot of weird
Yeah,
stories.
no, it's a cool place.
So the death gate is right here. Yeah, and this gate wasn't here, but the opening was. Yeah,
And the cemetery is right on the other side.
it's
Or
that way.
straight
So
that
they
way.
would go up through here and make a left, and we're actually going to be walking behind the cemetery. So the reason why I don't take people through cemeteries on this tour, even though it's called Stories in a Cemetery, if you were dead, are you going to hang out where your grave is? No, probably not. It's boring. You're gonna go to the places you love. It goes the same thing with the handprint. We don't get any activity out of the handprint either, because what slave kid wants to go back to where he was a slave? He probably went back to his poor little miserable home because that's where his family was and that's what he remembers. If he's still here.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have those kind of answers. You guys have your beliefs, I have mine.
That's a cool
So.
tree.
Yeah. We're gonna hear things drop because it's that season, so just kind of be cargo. That's interesting. I don't know what those things were up at the end, but I kept hearing something drop and hit the trash can right there. It's great when it's empty like this. Well, on a Saturday night, like this past Saturday, I cut through like 5 tools. That's why I tell the story up there. Left it out at the beginning. So what have you been videoing that they put you in charge of?
Oh, super horse competition.
And why do you say you're bad at it? Is the video?
I have to come get mine.
Well, it's not like she's videoing with the end of the salad. She's that far away, so.
Oh wow. Yeah. This is a good picture spot too. So those of you using cell phone pictures, if you stand at that doorway, you can get the steeple in the background as well.
Yeah.
But with your camera, because there's no flash, we won't be able to read the plaque.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I could be touristy too. Some of you guys are on vacation. Give you some highlights. Oh, you're moving here? Where are you moving to? What part?
Lawrence.
You there before us.
It's
That's all good.
yeah. Chickens and easily.
Yeah, I know where you live. So when tours are slow, and when COVID says I'm not allowed to drive, or I can't do tours, I'll drive Uber Eats to obviously make up funds and still work. And they send me all over the place. The only place I won't come is downtown. That's the funny thing, right?
Yeah, me too.
With some pop rocks.
Yeah, I make this.
These are fingers. Right here? Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, you can.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Oh, where did you do it? Oh, you got it. Hey. Look at them. I can hold it for you. Shouldn't have eaten so much. Where is it? Oh, right there. That's
Well, that's definitely one.
for sale. You got me to hold it?
Let me do that now.
You want this? Evan, you want this? He ate too much at dinner. Just ask your questions, right?
They're asking 425. We just offer 390, so see what they come ask for. But it's been on the market. They started 2 years ago at 495 come down to 425 now.
We walked here. What is it? This is where we walked.
They put all kinds of stipulations on it because I got to sell my house before I can down payment. But we want to see the contract.
Yeah.
Your house is being sold.
We're selling it to a relative. We hadn't worked out a contract yet. That had to be done like right now.
Yeah. Well, this is South Carolina. South Carolina's cool. I actually dipped my hand in real estate for a little while. I hated it. Just wasn't my bag at all. I didn't have the passion like I had for something like this. But I understand like how some of that stuff works. They want it now. South Carolina wants to move quick. It doesn't matter where you go.
It was. I didn't mind.
Let's get a question.
Let's do agree on the price.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I was thinking. Let's agree on the price, and then you can put your
It says you're hot.
You pull the one house.
Are there any dead tragic lovers around?
Make sure you're serious.
Want all that stuff done before. Yeah, we love you.
Men.
Is that what she said?
Yes.
Men?
Yeah.
So there's a gay couple, a dead gay couple.
Can't live with him, can't kill
When
him.
I go investigate places, that just gets too personal.
This house probably
Why is it
6,000 square foot.
in the middle of his body?
Because of his bag. Huh?
Late 18.
It's his bag.
Your butt's the same way.
It's because of his bag.
Her.
Right down there in that window, it's one of the most beautiful houses you ever saw.
What's
As
that
you
thing?
get up close
Is
to
that your finger?
the
Yeah.
termite, just,
I see your bum.
Ceilings falling out.
He's gonna be in that video.
Oh, yeah.
Good story. All right, let's get you guys together for one last spot. So, we're actually going to be taking a look at this the big brick building over
I noticed that one today. I was talking about it today.
Well, what do you know about it?
I don't know anything about it, but I said it looked like kind of like an old stable at one point, but I figured it wasn't because then when I saw the back part of the building,
It's actually where they kept the horses that would bring in the cotton. It was a cotton warehouse.
oh, there you go.
So, again, big part of our cotton industry. That's the Wagner building. So it was built by a pretty famous architect, Wagner. But the last guy who had it as a warehouse, his name was George Poirier. He inherited the business from his dad. He was clueless on what he was doing because he was a silver spoon kid and nobody taught him anything. He lost pretty much a bunch of money through all of his inheritance. He blew through it. He's in debt up to his ears, and he decides he wants to get out of the cotton industry. So he sells we also had the boll weevil in town. You all know what the boll weevil is, right? So his cotton is crap. He's got to get rid of it. So he can't sell it to the Americans because he doesn't want to keep the boll weevil here in town or even in the States. So he sells it to the British. Again, across the street is East Bay Street. The peninsula is much skinnier. He can watch the ship roll in. He's watching from the second-story window. And most of your online stories will say the third story. It's the second from the data that I get consistently, so I'm going with that. But he watches as the ship rolls in. They unload it by horse and buggy out there, all on one ship. Once it's loaded, somebody gets too close to the cotton with a pipe. The whole ship catches fire and everybody dies, either by drowning or by fire. He watches the whole thing. He's already depressed because his dad's gone. He doesn't have enough money to pay off all his American debts from the British funds that he got, and now his father's legacy is gone. And he's the big joke in town. So what does he do? He piles up all the furniture while the ship's on fire, captain's chair on top, climbs it, swings a noose from the rafters, and kills himself. They say you can see the shadow of a swinging corpse on the second-story window. Now, your camera does not see through glass. So when we get to the front, you're actually going to be looking for those blue windows to turn darker blue or black, which means something is influencing it from the inside. That's what I'm looking for, is those cold spots, because there are reported cold spots from when this was a brewery not too long ago. So the stories there was a lot of cold spots, the taps would turn on and off, all kinds of craziness would happen. They left town. They're actually turning the front of this building into a wedding reception area with a rooftop floor, so it'll be considered waterfront, and they'll probably charge a good $50K to do a wedding reception there with a 10-star restaurant that'll be inside. So good luck to them, because it's going to be cursed, and you just drop the boatload of money.
It's gonna be cursed.
I do get another ghost that tags along when I'm looking at this place, and it makes complete sense only because it's the same time period. Where we came out of Philadelphia Alley that way, 2 blocks up, is Poogan's Porch. Poogan's Porch is named after a dog. We're not waiting for the dog to come through, but that used to be the home of Zoe Saint Amand. She has a French descent, so I usually get the word French at the same time. Some people say they actually hear French words come out of the spirit boxes. But Zoe spells her name Z-O-E. That's how I know it's her. She'll show up on my spirit box probably once or twice a month with that exact spelling. It's not often, but it's usually here. It makes sense. If we ask her through the spirit box, like, hey Zoe, what's your house look like now? She's not going to say the word restaurant. She's going to give you spoon, fork, table, eat. Very simple words that she could find to actually describe what her house looks like now. She died in the house by falling down the stairs. So that's another clue if you hear the word stairs. The name Elizabeth makes sense because her sister lived there with her as well. So her sister's name was Elizabeth. So you have lots of clues of things we could be listening for. Things wrapped around a restaurant, or with George, it's going to be cotton, fire, bugs. I've gotten, like, what was the term that it gave me? Something about insect itching or something along those lines. And then I looked it up, and boll weevils, if we get bitten by them, is like a mosquito bite. It is very itchy. So
They always.
I know, right? Crazy stuff comes out of this building. This is kind of like an all or none type location. It's either all going to come through, or we're not going to see anything. But I do verify all of the spirit box material in the video. Once I get it back in the morning, you're going to take some pictures for me of the second story. It's not too difficult. Sorry, you're kind of short. So if it's too far to lean back, just let me know. I'll take them for you. Just one of those things. But we are going to cross legally twice. We're going to go straight ahead and go across. Definitely listen to the spirit box. Looks like you guys switched up.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we switched up.
Sorry, I should have told you that from the beginning. You guys can move stuff around. You're all in one group. It don't matter to me. But again, I sanitize everything 25 times a day anyway.
Well, it's okay. It's all us. We're together.
Yeah, I figured as much. You're all one group.
Yeah.
So let's go check out the bottom of the building.
Be ready to
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the other ones in my pocket. I said I have the other ones in my pocket. Gotta listen to it. Ask some questions. That's why you're sleepy.
We're gonna go sleep in a little bit.
So you can't do yes or no questions. You can say, how did you die?
How did you die?
Yeah? Yeah, I think so. That was crazy. That was weird. You better ask it another question.
That?
You could ask it. What was in the building? Or what was the business?
What caught fire on the ship?
Oh, that's the other place that had the.
I did get the word dog.
No, we got swinging because we asked him how'd he die.
It says swinging?
Swinging.
Nice. So I heard you guys going after George, so I went after Zoe, and I asked her, hey, your house is now a restaurant. Can you tell me what it's named after? Dog.
Dog.
So I'll give you that link once that pops up. So but yeah, we just want a nice quick shot. Apparently it happened within these 3 windows. The one above the rounded corner there. And then these 3. That's where the thing. I'm sure that was hurtful. I usually get things wrapped around money here too.
Huh. What colors is it? You said black?
So, Zendu was probably not here, and that water was probably way closer. I guess Pineapple Park down there. So, again, from the second story, you probably could have seen pretty far out and watched the stream.
Yeah. Especially from there.
Talking, that was in the 1870s, 1880s. So, again, some of this was probably here, but it may not have been built up as far as what we have it now. But this was definitely, that's why they say the third story.
Just another.
Yeah. But every time
See anything?
I asked,
No, I don't
it's always
think
said
so.
2 seconds.
I don't
Something
know
along
if
those
it's
lines.
like-
Halfway. I've gotten that before too.
Did
So,
he say
again,
dark
that'd be
blue or
halfway
black?
up on the
Yeah.
second floor.
Dark blue or black?
Was it? So, my dogs have people names as well. I named them after poets. So I have Byron and Emily.
Oh, that's cute.
And Byron is actually the name of my last book because he's a character in the book. So he's a very, like, my dogs are odd in color. Like I have Byron's a piebald dapple, which means it looks like a chocolate chip cookie being dumped in milk. So, and then Emily is a silver tone wire hair chocolate and tan, which means she has a silver head with a beard, and then she's chocolate and tan wire hair. So she's not a long hair, she's a wire.
Yeah.
So again, her beard's bigger than mine, and she's my little cuddle bug. But Byron is my support animal for my epilepsy. So he's usually with me, but he doesn't like when people are in my bubble. So I'm usually safe when I'm with a group of 5 to 10 people, so I'm usually good. Normally he's with me everywhere else. So, but yeah, he's my little guy. He comes, and he's a mini, so he's only 12 pounds.
Oh wow.
And with his coloring, everybody wants to pet him and touch him, and he's working. So when I have him out, like he's got his vest on, he's got a certain type of leash that I use to communicate with him. If I have to, I'll use the e-collar if I'm doing book signings with him, because he paw prints the books for me when I'm doing book signings.
Wow.
So he comes with me. Yeah, he's part of my gimmick. He's definitely part of the gimmick. But you guys got some good pictures and video. I'll be able to check everything out in the morning. At this point, I'll start collecting everything and answer any type of questions you guys might have. If they get a little dark in nature, I'll turn the audio off because I, again, try to keep things pretty